Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here we go. We bring you this special radio broadcast.
It's starting.
I'm sure a lot of people think this is just some radio shtick.
Let's talk to these people.
Let's talk about culture.
It's a primitive culture.
Let's talk about what's best in life.
What is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women.
Talk about crushing your enemies.
This time, it's for real.
Let's talk party politics. But don't expect the same old kind of talk radio show.
But a new wind was about to blow.
On this show, you get the high-flying conservative columnist from National Review Online, Jim Garrity, and the wit and wisdom and experience of broadcast veteran Mickey White. So let's get to it. This is the Jim and Mickey Show.
Welcome to the Jim and Mickey Show, brought to you this week by Shrek Department Stores. You know us for our Cheshire Cat logo and recently remodeled downtown location. This holiday season, we're offering a special sale on black rubber raincoats that can be easily altered for whatever your nightlife requires. I am Jim Garrity, joined by Mickey White. And Mickey, I am glad to see you are back from your Thanksgiving holiday excursion.
I am glad to be back and good to be here with you, Jim. But yes, it was in fact a definitely an excursion, an adventure, if you will. And it certainly felt like I was gone a lot longer than I actually was. As many of you guys know, my family is in Pennsylvania. So I had to go up there for Thanksgiving, which, let's just face it, me, my family, Thanksgiving, no booze. Always there's stories there to be told. But the real story actually begins because we went down to Pittsburgh over the weekend. And of course, you know, people who know me at all know that I am a die-hard Steelers fan. There is literally nothing in the world that I love more than my Steelers. It just is what it is. So I was born and raised on it. What's that?
Poor Mr. Biased.
Oh, except.
Let's be clear, there's nothing you love more.
Yeah, and you know what he would say? That does not surprise him, because the reason that Mr. Biased likes me so much and has for so long was the night that we met. I discussed with him how much I hated Neil O'Donnell.
Ah, well.
And why. And I impressed him so much with my football knowledge that he was intrigued to get to know this little conservative football guru.
A complete package. It's not surprising.
That was it.
Went pitter-patter.
He tells people that all the time.
I actually fell in love with Neil O'Donnell because he was so far ahead of his time, having that beard when nobody else had one. I thought that was really courageous.
Yeah, that was the beard was the strong suit of Neil O'Donnell's
Now
game.
everybody's got one.
You know what I'm going to talk about now? Not Neil O'Donnell.
Okay.
Because you know why I hate him?
Why?
He threw 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl, and we lost. And you know what? He still has the best record for Steelers quarterbacks, and in fact, maybe all NFL quarterbacks for interception to touchdown ratio. But the game is on the line. The rings are there. We're waiting for it. And he blows it high, wide, and handsome to go to your stupid Jets.
I was about to say, you're complaining about this, Mickey, but you didn't sign him for like $5 million a year.
No, you guys did that. That was awesome. Yeah. That was all football god karma on you guys.
The Kotite years. I was at some point going to ask you, what is this game with a spheroid object hurled around a field you speak of? Because as a Jets fan, I don't really follow professional football. But so I have a fun question for you later on. But tell me about your fantastic experience going to Pittsburgh to watch the Steelers last weekend. It was awesome, right?
It really was kind of awesome because we get into Pittsburgh Saturday night. We meet up with some friends from Twitter, Allan and Missy. It was the first time I'd had an actual opportunity to talk to them face-to-face and in person, and we hung out and went out on Southside, Carson Street, hit some of my favorite old haunts and the new ones as well, hit Permani Brothers because, well, you have to do that while you're there. And, you know, we wake up Sunday morning. Here it is, a Sunday in November. We're going to see the Steelers in Heinz Field. And my sister had booked the trip this time, and she actually booked the tickets and the hotel. And I have to tell you, she will be doing all of my travel arrangements moving forward because she nailed it on this particular trip. We pull up to our hotel Saturday night and realize that a hotel is not only the closest hotel to Heinz Field, but we're literally in the parking lot of Heinz Field.
Yes, I have stayed in that hotel. Any closer and you'd actually be on the 50-yard line.
Correct, which is where my tickets were.
I was going to say it's so close to the field it was actually damaged by Bane's attack.
Yes, exactly. It would have been. It was
yes.
damaged.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's that close. It's on the island, so to speak. And it's between the two parks. So we show up. We have this great hotel. I am so excited. I can hardly stand myself. I'm up late Saturday night after we've been out looking at the stadium and all the busy bees, starting to set up everything. And again, we wake up Sunday morning. They're telling us it is going to be in the 60s on the Sunday during the game. Could not believe it. Because normally, this time of year, we go up for a game. You're bundled up. You've got 8 layers on. In this case, I'm like, do I need a jacket? Should I wear the long sleeve shirt under my jersey? Or should I just go with a T-shirt under my jersey? And I wore flip-flops to the game, FYI.
Wow.
So I think that's something to be shared. So we wake up. It's a beautiful day. I can see Heinz Field. Literally, the streets are flooded with black and gold. There is a just anxious anxiety in the air, if you will, and electricity, almost like you would find, I think, on Bourbon Street. And, black and gold everywhere. People are just friendly. And we end up having brunch at Jerome Bettis's restaurant, which is right there as well. And we end up with the corner table outside. So we had the best seats in the house for brunch as we're watching this parade of black and gold. And I might even put some of these pictures that I took up on our Facebook page because it's absolutely insane unless you see it. Because people are just all over the downtown and all over the island area, the North Shore area. And so we're sitting there and I'm like, I am so full of anticipation and joy. And we know we've got good seats. We know where they're located. But when we actually get there and sit down, she wasn't joking. We were on the 50-yard line, and we were in row V. So, 20 rows up.
V for victory. You are completely set to enjoy a fantastic Steelers win over the New Orleans Saints, who came into the game with a 3-game losing streak. The stage was set, wasn't it, Mickey? And then what happened?
And we walk into the stadium, and in some ways I blame my sister because she did bring her boyfriend, and he is a Saints fan. And we walked him into that stadium, so it could very well be my fault, Steeler Nation, and I apologize. But we sit down, and I find out, on top of everything else, this is the 40th anniversary alumni game.
Oh.
So from the very first Super Bowl not everyone, but a good lot of the Hall of Famers were there on the field, including the person I was always raised to believe, father, Franco Harris. He was there as well. I took pictures of him and was like, Daddy. And of course, it was just a beautiful moment. I had on my Harris jersey, my Harrison jersey, which is my favorite. I had my Troy jersey in the bag just in case I needed to change it up. And suddenly they announce people, James Harrison comes out, and he is probably one of my favorite football players of all time. That man is serious. He's serious about everything. And they show that big bald head of his, beautiful face, just staring off at nothing, and smoke's pummeling, and they run out in the field. And then the game started. And
and the fun stopped.
And the fun just briefly stopped for about 4 hours. It was just like being at home on pins and needles. You guys are doing this again. You're playing down to your competition again. We only have 4 plays again. It's weird, but being live doesn't change anything apparently. It was weird because it took me about an hour or so after the game to even be able to look at my sister's boyfriend. And I had been joking all weekend, when we were out, because I was like, I have no faith in my Steelers at all right now. And I'd been joking all weekend that I was going to put him on the top of the car and on the roof rack and drive him home if they won. And to the point where my sister was like, he really thinks you might do that. And so after the game, I was like, well, I better not say
Collins
anything.
is preparing a column about you, by the way, about your utter inhumanity.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to put him on the roof rack. In fact, at one point, I came up for a use for him up there because I needed our Christmas tree yet. And they were selling Christmas trees along the road, and I thought, what a great idea. Not only will I have him on the roof rack, but I'll have him. He can hold on to the Christmas tree for me.
All right. So 2014 undoubtedly is not going to be remembered as a great football year in either the Garrity or White households.
Nope.
But theoretically, I have gloating rights in the sense that the Jets did beat the Steelers earlier this year. On the other
theoretically, technically, you will also get bragging rights when draft day rolls around.
Well, that's what I'm pulling for now. It's suck for the duck, in the sense of the Oregon Duck American, that's our philosophy for now. But so here's my question to you, and I think every fan who's had a bad season has kind of had to grapple with this. Am I more miserable now rooting for a terrible team that is, no hope? We're probably going to get rid of our coach. I hope we get rid of our GM. Things are really bad, but we're probably going to get a good draft choice and maybe think, there's almost nowhere to go but up. Or are you more miserable because the Steelers are indisputably at least a pretty good team that somehow loses games to teams like the Jets and Tampa Bay and, New Orleans when they're on this terrible streak? Is it
I
more
have
people
sympathy
that have
for
bad
Jets
teams?
fans to a certain degree.
Okay.
Coming from, a Steeler fan and a lover of football in general, because your whole organization is messed up and has been for a long time. And that generally leads to bad teams. The reason the Steelers organization, or the reason the Steelers consistently have good teams, is because we have a very consistent front office. We have had some issues in the last couple of years, though, with personnel and spotting talent and getting the right people on the field. And I think it's probably more painful for us because we do know the taste of victory, up close and personal, and knowing that we still have much of the talent that we need to win yet another Super Bowl. And so I think that's hard for us to watch because it looks like just, incompetence or not executing, what needs to be done on the field. And in the Jets case, well, let's face it, you've got a better chance with Sweet Meteor of Death than putting together a team next year.
I think I am very much of the philosophy of ripping off a Band-Aid. I want to hit bottom as fast as I can so I can start climbing back up again. And that would be my approach for rebuilding. If I were GM, things would be very different. And who knows, maybe by the end of the year I will be.
Well, you could be. I'm sure that position will be available. and that's really sometimes what needs to happen is you need to, go all the way down to the bottom and then come back up. And one of the things they always joke about with Pittsburgh fans is we don't like or have rebuilding years in Pittsburgh. We don't like those. So it's something that's very important that we don't need to rebuild. We're supposed to be good every single year. And so there's a certain expectation that comes out of the Steel City. And, you Jets fans, well, you just have to manage your expectations.
We aspire to rebuilding.
Yes, you aspire to rebuilding. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different controversial kind of topics in the next segment. So stick around. I'm Mickey White. He's Jim Garrity. You're listening to The Jim and Mickey Show.
I had no choice the news that was given to me on August 2nd.
Gold Star mom, Debbie Lee.
But I did have a choice how I responded.
In August 2006, Mark Allen Lee became the first Navy SEAL to lose his life in Iraq.
I chose to put on Mark's boots, pick up his weapon, and stay in the fight for our troops and their families.
And America's Mighty Warriors was born.
Mark's name meant Mighty Warrior, and he definitely lived up to his name.
At americasmightywarriors.org, you'll find Mark's last letter home. Read it, and you'll know what AMW's about. It's about service to active duty members of the military and their family, including care packages, visits, and more. It's about supporting the wounded and the people who love them. It's about the Gold Star family. Special retreats, concerts, Mother's and Father's Day events to let them know they're loved and not forgotten. Donations are tax deductible and go directly where they're needed.
Read Mark's last letter home.
And just as he inspired his mom, let Mark inspire you to some random acts of kindness of your own.
At americasmightywarriors.org.
The Jim and Mickey Show with Jim Garrity and Mickey White.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mickey White, and I'm here with Jim Garrity, and we're going to talk about something that, he and I actually were talking about the other day on the phone, which is we're coming up on, I believe it's the 25th anniversary of the Rodney King riots and situation out in LA. And here we are 25 years later, and we're still talking about race like nothing's changed, when in fact a lot has changed.
No, the news has been in reruns this week. The very depressing circumstance that came out of Ferguson, the decision of the grand jury to not pursue charges against Officer Darren Wilson, and then on top of that, what really seemed to kick it into in a much higher gear, was the grand jury's decision to not press charges against the officers in Staten Island, New York, in the deaths of Mr. Garner out there. And I don't know how things have been in your neck of the woods, Mickey. There were protests that basically have shut down chunks of New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and actually in Old Town Alexandria, not too far from